I'm R.P. Eddy, the co-author of Warnings, Finding Cassandras to Stop Catastrophes.
And I'm Dick Clarke, the other co-author.
Half of this book is about history. It's about Cassandras who are ignored and disasters that occurred. But look, history is sometimes today, and I think we might be living in a moment of pretty consequential history right now, Dick. There's a guy named Christopher Steele who issued a brief about our current president. How does that, in your mind, fit in with this book?
I'm convinced that this fellow, Christopher Steele, fits the list of criteria for being a Cassandra. He was a British spy. He worked for an organization called the British Secret Intelligence Service, and he was their head of Russia analysis.
So using these decades of experience being a real clandestine Russian expert, Christopher Steele put together a memo for a variety of private backers, and this memo profiled Donald Trump and the relationships he may have, the memo alleges had, with Russia, compromising information the Russians may have on him, in-depth financial relationships and others he may have with Russia. The punchline of the memo is that we could have a president who was compromised by Russia. That's what he warned of.
And whether or not that's true, we don't know yet. We'll find out, presumably in the near future. But Christopher Steele warned in time. He warned in the spring and in the summer prior to the presidential election. And he gave that material to people in the United States who went around to mainstream media and tried to get mainstream media to run the story, the Christopher Steele dossier as it became known. None of them did. And now, after the fact, we're hearing from the FBI sources and CIA sources we know that almost everything in that dossier was accurate. It wasn't made up. In fact, Donald Trump's organization did have ties to a variety of people in Russia, including the Russian intelligence service.
Looking at Christopher Steele, there are a number of characteristics about him that resonate with our proven Cassandras, folks who were ignored but proven to be correct.
The first one is he was an honest-to-God expert, recognized by other experts in the field, and he was data-driven. He had data. He had intelligence reports. The second one was what we call first occurrence syndrome. He was predicting something, like so many of our other Cassandras, something that had never happened before. And because it had never happened before, people were unwilling to take it seriously.
Another thing about Christopher Steele and his dossier, and something that I think is really fascinating in this book, is this idea of outlandishness. We all are adults. We were learned to not believe that there's monsters under the bed. It makes us silly to think there are. When someone shows up with a dossier with some of the salacious allegations in Christopher Steele's, talking about a man who's now president of the United States, it is outlandish. By definition, we are repelled by outlandish ideas, and that's another part of the Cassandra coefficient that Christopher Steele fits. And a lot of people are going to have egg on their face. A lot of major media leaders, a lot of members of Congress, and certainly our president, if in fact Christopher Steele's dossier is even half correct.
And U.S. intelligence agencies, because Christopher Steele gave his dossier not only to media organizations who ignored it, but he gave it to the FBI, and they didn't do very much with it until after the election.